Hi, it's Joe Edwards from MOI. We're here today for the Little Shop of More interview series, and we're talking about this little dude today, personal zone and all things social media. Hey Sam, thanks for joining us today for this interview. Can you just tell me and everyone else a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm in the Oracle Corporate Communications Department across Europe, Middle East and Africa. My day role is basically I look after corporate PR and also the social strategy. I've been at Oracle about 18 months. Prior to that, I was at Vodafone as the head of social media for a couple of years. And prior to that, I was back at Oracle actually in a straight kind of corporate comms role.
Every consumer has got their own social media playground that they're in control of to a certain extent. What do you think the three critical factors are to kind of entering into people's personal zones?
God, I think if there's three, I think there's loads, but I think it all boils down to things is that people use them because they want to use them, because they want to connect with people and they want to find out stuff they don't know. So I think from a kind of business point of view, you've got to add value to people's lives. Yeah. You've got to kind of earn permission to be in it, and you've got to be human. Yeah. So whether you are a consumer brand, when I was at Vodafone, whether you're a business brand, somebody like Oracle, you've got to earn the right for people to, acknowledge you and sort of spend the time looking at your stuff. Yeah. You've got to do it in a very human way. And you've got to appreciate that they are what type of frame of mind they're in. They're normally in a very kind of fast, low-touch browsing mode. Yeah. So it needs to be short, it needs to be snappy, but it needs to appeal to them on that type of mindset that they have when they're browsing.
Everyone's personal zone is different. Some consumers are kind of complete social sluts. They'll like, share, connect with absolutely anything. And what do you feel some of the kind of key metrics are? And which one are you? Are you a social slut, or do you try and, hold yourself back a little bit?
So I tend to not choose to connect to everything, because otherwise you don't get any value out of what you're doing. A phrase I was told once by a good friend of mine is no such thing as information overload, it's filter failure. Yeah. So if you do go down that social slut type thing of I'll follow everything, you kind of need to make sure you get the value out. You need to be quite disciplined in how you use it. Yeah. What are you talking about, and how can I add value to what you're talking about? So from a listening point of view, we go very much on a trend point of view. What are the topics? Who's talking about them? And then I come from a traditional PR background. So I very much look at who are the influencers there, and I used to spend my day trying to get media analysts, etc., and engage with them to carry my message. I do exactly the same, except my pool of influencers now are not just restricted to those people.
So then the metrics side of things, what have you got kind of like a top level way you look at metrics from a social point?
Absolutely. We look at it from it's really important to benchmark first. Yeah. Anybody that asks me about share of voice tends to then have to sit down for half an hour while I rant about it. Share of voice is perfectly acceptable if you know what share of voice you're measuring. Share of voice can be hugely negative when things go wrong. So who are you looking to have share of voice within, and what is the level of it first? So absolutely benchmark your environment first and stick with it. I think the thing with social is the measurements can change very quickly. You need to stick with it to be able to produce those trends. Yeah. So we look at share of voice, we look at impact across how many people have started to talk about us more, either positively, more favourably or more frequently within that time period, and who are they then reaching? So you can start to put a bit of science around that old adage of influencers. Yeah.
What social channels kind of represent the hardest challenge for you to engage?
So I think two things. It's about finding the right contact to connect with people in LinkedIn and getting people to be more of the moment and more connected to people on Twitter.
How are you overcoming some of the challenges with social selling?
It's understanding that it's about building the long-term relationship. It's about finding those touch points, finding common ground, and don't chase the sale will come. So just as lots and lots of people do, they build those networks. The beauty of it is years and years ago, the only way you built those networks were at business events, on the phone, via email, whatever it happened to be. Now you can find out such a rich tapestry of information about people to not jump in two-footed. Yeah. Always wait it back, build your own credibility first, listen first, then engage, and then kind of don't chase the sale will come.
Can you tell us a little bit about your social media technology stack? I'm sure that you've got some third-party stuff and the things that Oracle are using. Can you talk to us a little bit about those and some of the strengths and weaknesses?
Well, clearly there's obviously no weaknesses in our stack.
Yeah, of course not.
I think one of the lucky things we have at Oracle is because of the acquisitions we've made. We've got great content marketing through Compendium. We've got great social listening through Collective Intellect, Vitru, those type of tools that we've brought in, and we've managed to pull together in the social relationship management management suite.
Yeah.
So we've got all parts of the listening bit, the publishing bit, the workflow bit, the governance bit, the content marketing bit, which allows us to kind of, you can imagine the size of Oracle, pull it together and publish through both brand channels, through the way I look at our social strategies. We've got brand channels, we've got employee channels, and we've got our executive thought leadership channels. Yeah. And we're very lucky to have those tools that all bring it into one place to allow us to see what's going on the outside, how to then design our content, how to get that out the door, and then how to measure the success of it.
Final question then, how are you guys innovating in social media today? What are some of the things you do? You spoke about failing fast, so what are some of the things that you're not necessarily failing fast in, but where you are trying to dip your toe in the water as new things come?
Sure. I think one of the things is we just always need to be ready for kind of like, not necessarily what the next big thing is, but there's always small little tweaks that can make a big difference. So the big things on my agenda is about sort of the employee advocacy side. It's been around for years, we know, but how do we really motivate people to embrace all that information that's out there, and how to actually make those connections one-to-one. And what channels is that done? What type of content is that done? How can we make that content more engaging? How can we get more people using it? That isn't hugely innovative, but it's about how do we do that at a scale? How do we do that in local language? How do we do that with people in different parts of the business in different regions? So that's one thing that I'm excited about.
So thanks for being with us today. It's been much appreciated. You know, this is going to take part of our Little Shop of More kind of video series, so you'll be able to see everything online there. So Sam, thanks for your time.
My pleasure, Joe.